All right. So now we are done with the technical questions. Now we will go into the behavioral part, which is also very, very important. Once you are through on the technical side, then the behavioral aspect comes into play. And these are the most frequently asked questions for the soft skills or the behavioral part. Question number one: how do you manage to keep the project on track? Yes, this was asked personally to me in my recent interview where the product cost planning client was there, where I was preparing. So once they saw that, okay, technically I'm okay, functionally I have the knowledge, now they started asking the behavioral question and they asked that usually in your project, how do you make sure that you will keep the project on track? So the answer is, well, not the answer, but the answer I gave rather is using the daily cadence stand-up meeting. That was one of the tools. Using the agile Kanban board. When I mentioned that, I actually conveyed three messages to them. First, I have the experience of using agile Kanban board, which is basically using the Scrum technology and agile methodology. So they immediately knew that, okay, I have experience with agile methodology and I've used the Scrum, I've used the Kanban board, and I know how things work there. So that is very important because now most of the companies are using either Jira board or Kanban board or the Microsoft Planner. Sometimes they use Microsoft Planner and Teams Planner, etc. But basically the concept of agile methodology or Kanban board or Jira tickets is very, very common these days, and you should be aware of that. So I mentioned that there was a daily call. The calls are usually called stand-up calls. So there will be a daily stand-up cadence call, which can range from 15 minutes to half an hour. And then on a daily basis, we discuss all the tickets assigned to the respective developers. They all give their updates turn by turn. And then if there are some showstoppers or roadblocks, then we discuss that in the stand-up call. And then we chart out the plan of action, how to solve those roadblocks and your showstoppers. And that's how we keep the project on track. Second thing is we create sprints. So on the agile board or the Kanban methodology or the agile methodology will allow you to use sprints. So you create sprints which can range from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Usually I have seen from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Most common are 4-week sprints, 1 month long sprints. And in that sprint, you decide that this is the scope of work we will do. So in sprint number 1, I'm going to cover finance. In sprint number 2, I'm going to cover sales and distribution. In sprint number 3, I'm going to cover my product cost planning, things like that. So you define your scope of work in the respective sprints, and then you assign those tasks, the swim lanes. In the Kanban board on the agile methodology, we create swim lanes, which are nothing but your sprints. And within the sprints, we have in progress, we have a backlog. Backlog means that there are tickets yet to be looked into. So that is called a backlog. And then you have the in development, you have in progress, then you have in quality, and then you have deployed. So those are the different swim lanes in the sprint board, Kanban board. And then you track your tickets or tasks accordingly and move to different swim lanes based on what are the statuses. So that was created. Daily stand-up call was there. Roadblocks, showstoppers were discussed in the stand-up call. And then at the end of the sprint, we create something called a retrospect, sprint retrospective or retrospect. What that means is, what did we learn from the previous sprint? What did we do well? What did we didn't do well? So those things are discussed, and in the next sprint, we include those improvements which we missed in the previous sprint. That is called a sprint retrospective. So all these were done to manage the project and to make sure that we are on track. Okay. So this is how I answered. So this is what you can also say. And plus you can add some points from your side as well, how you kept the project on track. Next, what will keep you motivated? Okay. What motivates you? Very common question. My answer to this was new technology and learning. Okay. If you keep me in the same technology and you will ask me to do repetitive tasks day in and day out for 2 years, 3 years, I'm going to be bored. And I will start looking out for opportunities outside. See, there are two things which motivates me. Okay. It might differ from person to person. There are two things which motivates me. First is new technology and new learning, and second is money, remuneration. Okay, I'll be very, very honest. Of course, if you continue at a certain pay package for years together, then it's a problem. Because in the world we live in, the inflation and the cost of living is going higher and higher. So of course, you have to have a better package as you grow in experience. So two things. First is new technology and learning. Second is remuneration, of course. And third is training others and enabling them to perform better. So my passion is to provide training. My passion is to enable people to learn more and become competent and do well in their careers. So that is my passion, and that keeps me motivated as well. And then you can mention other things like problem solving and few other things, but don't go personal here. Okay, there's a caveat. What motivates you? Don't say that good movies or great music or things which are personal. They are not looking for that. They are looking for technology-wise, career-wise, professional-wise. Professionally, what keeps you motivated? So don't go personal here. Stay professional and mention those things which will help you in your day-to-day professional work life, not your personal life. Okay. What would you bring on table if hired? Yes, another very, very common question that, okay, why should I hire you? Another way to answer this is, to ask this is, why should we hire you? What will you bring? What is the value addition you will bring on the table? So you can answer like this. I have rich industry experience because in my resume, you can see that I have worked with support projects. I have worked with implementation projects. I have worked with migration projects. So I bring a rich industry experience, vast experience in a lot of areas. Second is I have technical expertise in SAC, in BW and HANA. I know all the three. I have good project experience in all the three. I have worked on the state of the art, the latest task management tools like Jira and Kanban board. So if your team does not know or haven't used it, I can train the people. So I bring that value addition. I have used these tools, which are industry best practices tool, and I can teach the team. Then I bring various integration related expertise, like I have connected my BW to S4, I have connected my SAC to S4, I have connected my SAC to BW also. I have experience in writing back the data from SAC to S4 and BW4 also. So that integration experience I bring on the table. Then I have team management skills and coordination skills because I have worked with offshore team. I was an on-site lead. I had to lead an offshore team and there was a time zone difference. So I used to manage it very well. I used to make sure there is enough overlap between offshore team and onshore team. And I used to, guide the offshore team properly so that they understand the requirement clearly and then they deliver. Because the major problem you will face with the offshore team are two things. Okay. First is they don't understand the requirement and they assume things and then they deliver accordingly, which is not expected. So you have to keep them on track by daily call and making sure they understand the requirement clearly. And second is, it's you have to keep them motivated because they will think that, oh, you are an on-site lead, so they will have certain friction. Their offshore lead will have a little bit friction with the on-site lead because they think that on-site thinks that they are the client-facing team, so they think that they are the whole soul of the project, but that's not the case. Offshore is equally important. So that kind of a little bit of an ego clash you will see in offshore and on-site. How you can manage that is basically by having two things I used to do when I was on-site lead in one of the projects and I had a big offshore team. So we used to do alternate Friday, all video on theme meetings. Okay. What we used to do is every alternate Friday, we used to declare a theme. Theme means, say, for example, one Friday is a Halloween theme. Example, right? Everybody will switch on their video, okay? Because usually in the calls, we don't see each other frequently. So every other Friday, we were having a mandatory video on Teams meeting. And in that, everybody will dress in Halloween theme. And everybody used to dress very nicely and different themes, different dresses were seen. And we used to give the best dress award on the alternate Fridays. That kept the team engaged and motivated. And then at the month end, we used to give the offshore team member of the month. We used to have an award like that. And what we used to do is we used to collect some money, not a huge money, and then give a gift card, small gift card, maybe $10 gift card or a $15 gift card to that employee, offshore team member of the month, to keep them motivated. Okay, so those are certain few things you can use to manage offshore team, and that's what I did. Okay, if you give these examples, then the panel will be really impressed, and they will see that okay, this guy has an experience with handling offshore team as well. Then I bring excellent communication skills to face clients in a fruitful manner. Yes, you have to emphasize that I have a lot of experience facing clients, difficult clients, unreasonable requests, how I manage them, and how I told them that okay, this is not possible. We can take them at a later stage. Give me your priorities. We will handle them accordingly, and things like that. So I have excellent communication skills to face clients. So that's what I bring on the table if you have me. Next question. Tell me a time when you faced a difficult client and how did you handle that? Okay. So just expanding on that item or the point I mentioned that I have faced client. They can ask a follow-up question saying that, okay, tell me a difficult client, how do you handle? So there are two types of difficult scenarios in terms of clients I faced. Excuse me. Unreasonable requirements. So sometimes the client asks unreasonable requirements, which are very difficult to implement or which are almost impossible to implement. So what we do is we don't say no, or I didn't say upfront that no, sorry, this is not possible. Instead of that, you can say that, okay, this will take a lot of effort and research and getting creative because this is not a straightforward requirement. So let's have your must-haves, which are your top priority, and let's have good-to-haves. We will deliver must-haves in phase 1. We will deliver good-to-haves in phase 2. What you are actually doing in that is you are buying time. So you are buying time from client indirectly, and you will have enough time to research on those difficult requirements and how you can handle that. So we divided it into phases, and client was okay with that. Second is unreasonable timelines. So sometimes clients say that I want this requirement, but you only have 1 month to deliver. And that is too short of a time. So how do you handle that? The way I handle it is basically I tell them that this will at least take 1.5 to 2 months, not 1 month. If they still harp on the same thing, no, we only have 1 month. You cannot go beyond that because the shortage of budget, or it is basically a fixed bid project where you have only 1 month of time, then I will clearly send an email to the client that okay, we can deliver in 1 month, but please don't ask us to have a good quality in the product because we are doing it in a hurry. So we cannot test each and every aspect of the product. So there will be a lot of defects. You can expect a lot of defects, and we cannot guarantee the quality of the product if we have to deliver in such short notice. So when the client hears risk to the quality, okay, those keywords will trigger a little bit of a panic in the clients, and then they are ready to negotiate the timeline with you. In my experience, that happened. Okay, in your experience, it might not happen. The client might be really, really stubborn. And in that case, you can say that, okay, maybe the scope of work will have to reduce. So you have to go, then your account manager and your senior manager and VPs will get involved. But the way I handle it at my level is saying that, okay, I will deliver you, but with a disclaimer. Disclaimer is, please don't expect that there will be no defect. There might be a lot of defects because we don't have time to test it thoroughly, and there is a risk to the quality of the product. So that's how we trigger a little bit of panic in the client and make them understand that what they're asking has risk, and then usually they open up for a compromise in terms of timeline. And then they give us additional 1 week or 2 weeks because they don't want a product in production which is having a lot of defects. Then it's of no use, basically. So that's how you can handle the unreasonable requirements and unreasonable timeline. Next question is, tell me a time when you faced a conflict with your peers and colleagues and how did you resolve that? again, I gave you an example of onshore, offshore. There's an ego clash. There is, a little bit of a superiority complex clash. So things like that. So how will you handle those kind of scenarios? I already told you how to keep the offshore motivated. Now, let's discuss a couple of items. First is conflict on the design and approach. So sometimes you have a design, but your offshore lead has an alternate design saying that, okay, this is a better approach, I think, and let's go with this. Okay, and he or she is refuting your design approach. So how will you handle those kind of scenarios? You will handle it with a POC. There is something called a proof of concept. You will ask the offshore lead to create a proof of concept in the test environment, sandbox or development environment. Not the test, sorry, but the sandbox or development environment. And you will create a POC of your design suggestion in the same environment. And then we will give it to the team to test it out. And then we will list down the pros and cons. And then we will decide one of them. So there is the sure shot approach where in the system, if you create something, it cannot be denied, right? If the performance is better with the approach number 1 versus approach number 2, then you should go with that. And there is no shame in accepting that, yes, the offshore lead's design was better. And I didn't think of this. They had a great idea, and you should compliment them and appreciate them for their better design approach instead of having a little bit of a clash with them. Because appreciating and accepting that your design did not think about all the aspects which they thought about is actually showing maturity, and it doesn't belittle you. It basically shows you as a mature on-site lead. Offshore not performing well. Yes, you expect certain quality, but they're not performing well. So resolved by designing the performance of the month pat on the back, as I just told you, performance of the month pat on the back award from the delivery manager, which was eventually also considered during the year-end appraisals. So the moment they know that these pat on the backs are not just to motivate me on a paper, but actually these will be considered during the year-end appraisals, they will become serious about them and they'll appreciate that. And second is every alternate Fridays, all video on stand-up with theme-based meetings. And I just mentioned you, business casuals. Sometimes the theme was business casuals. Sometimes the theme was white. Sometimes the theme was Halloween. Sometimes the theme was best dressed. So things like that. So you can think of those creative ideas and keep them engaged and motivated. Next question. Describe yourself in 3 words. A very, very recent question, again to the same client where I'm about to implement product cost planning. The senior vice president, she's a lady, and she asked, Devanshu, if I ask your colleagues to describe you in 3 words, what would they say? Or in other words, describe yourself in 3 words. So I told her, authentic, hardworking, and fun. Okay, your answer can be different. But the reason I used authentic is because in today's world, there are a lot of fake things. And with deep fakes and AI and things like that, the authenticity and credibility of, good resources is becoming lesser and lesser. So the moment you use that word authentic, it will showcase that, yes, you are trustworthy and you are authentic. Then hardworking, of course, is a very common thing. You can replace that with anything else. Dedicated or attention to details. I have been really good at attention to details. Problem solver. I'm a great problem solver. So you can use alternate, but what I used is authentic, hardworking, and fun. So the moment I used fun, they expanded. She asked me, what do you do for fun? So keep that answer also ready. Okay, because they can ask follow-up questions on each of the words you are using to describe yourself. So the word she picked on was fun. Okay, so what do you do for fun? So I told her that for fun, I do swimming. I'm a swimmer. So we go for family swims on every Thursdays. I'm a badminton player. So we have a club here and we play badminton. We have a big group and we play badminton thrice a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then, we go for outings and family picnics and all. So those are also stress busters for me. So that's what I do for fun. Your definition of fun can be different, but, this is what I told her and she was happy to hear that. So prepare yourself for, if you have to expand on these words, then you should be prepared as well. And then finally, that's what I told you, right? What do you do for fun? That was the expansion. So that's the next question. And then I told her that sports, music, family outings, this is what keeps my stress level low. These are my stress busters in life. And that's what I love to do. Okay. And then finally, at the end, they might or they might not ask you, do you have any questions for us? Okay. This is also a very, very common thing. They will say that, do you want to ask anything? Do you have any questions? Please ask questions. That shows that you are really interested to know about the position or the role. Don't say, no, I don't have any questions. That will show a lack of interest a little bit. So I would recommend that prepare a list of questions in advance to ask the interviewer. Like, I'll give you an example. She asked me, okay, Devanshu, do you have any questions for me? So I already prepared the question. So I asked her that what kind of project is this? Is this an implementation project or is this a support project where it is, the actual implementation is done and you're just enhancing it? So she said, that's a great question. And then she explained what kind of project it is. So please prepare a list of questions and then ask the interviewer at the end if they ask you. If they don't ask, then what would you do? Should you ask the question? I would say, if the time permits, you should ask the question. You will say that, excuse me, if you don't mind, can I ask a couple of questions, please? Okay, politely, you can answer that. You can ask that. There's nothing wrong in that. But if the time has, already gone, like the entire 1 hour, which was scheduled for an interview is done, then don't drag it because they will have other meetings. They will have other things to do. So you don't need to ask. But if the time permits, yes, I would encourage you to politely ask that I have few questions. If you don't mind, can I please ask that? And then ask your questions. Okay, they will appreciate that. And finally, very important, not many of us do that. Send a thank you email to the interviewers. This goes a long, long way to show that, your appreciation and respect for the time they spent with you. So you will get an email from your staffing company that your interview is scheduled on this date with this, and in that email, there will be email IDs of the interviewers. So reply to that email and say that, I am grateful for your time. I really thank you for the interview and I look forward to hearing from you. Please make it a habit to send a thank you email to the interviewers at the end of the interview on the same day or the next day. Okay, don't make it like, don't delay it too much. Don't do it after 2 or 3 days. Do it immediately after the interview or 1 day after the interview. That's it. That should be the latest timeline where you should send the thank you note. That I'm telling you guys, that shows a lot of professionalism in the person. All right. So with that, we end the behavioral part of the section. And now I'm going to open the forum for the general Q&A. And in this general Q&A, you can ask me all the questions you have. And of course, I showed you this case. I was planning this as a surprise, but you asked during the question and answer sessions in the middle. So yes, my planning and reporting training is coming very soon, next month, and I will release the dates shortly. And this is an overview of all the items which will be covered during my training. The focus and emphasis will be on SAC planning. And I will also give you the functional knowledge of profit and loss income statement. What goes on in income statement, how an FSV is created, and how we load it into SAC. So that functional knowledge also will be a part of my training. All right. So I will now open the forum for any questions and answers, any questions you have. Oh yes, by the way, I promised you one more thing last time. Somebody actually sent me a note that I promised you to show how to dress for an interview, right? How you should, what is called a business casual. And I promise you that I will switch on my video. So
It's me, Subhanshu, Satish here. It's me, Subhanshu, who asked this question. Sent a note.
Oh, you were the one. Okay.
Yeah, Satish Kirti.
Yes, Satish. So thank you for that. I didn't forget in the last part. I told you that at the very end in the Q&A, I'm going to switch on my video. So let me
Yes.
do that. Let me do that. Just give me 1 second. Can you guys see me?
Yes, Subhanshu.
Okay. So this was the attire I had during my interview. And see, I'm looking into the camera. I'm not looking into the screen. So if I look into the screen while answering, I'm not having the eye contact. The moment I look at the camera, now I'm having the eye contact. So this is the business casual I had. I had a shirt which is not body in color, and then I had a coat, and then I had a jeans. So I'm wearing a jeans. So basically, this if you dress up well, then it will give you the confidence. Even if they don't ask you to switch on the video, if you are dressing up well during an interview, then it will give you that confidence while you're answering. Okay. All right. So go ahead. Ask your questions, please.
Just to add on that, I lost one interview just because of I'm not wearing a business casual.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were saying that technically I was strong, but that role includes speaking to an executives, but that was not informed me before the interview that business casuals are needed.
Okay. Well, I don't think people will inform you that. You should. That's a understood thing. That you have to be in a business casual or completely business professional. So this is business casual. You should have a business casual, and sometimes what we do is it's funny. We put shirt and we put a nice coat or jacket, but we wear shorts. Okay, because we think that it won't be visible anyways. So either we are wearing a pajama or a short. And then at times it happened that I didn't realize, and I had my wife was asking something during the interview, and I just said, "Excuse me, please, it's very urgent for me." And I stood up and I gave that thing to my wife. And when I stood up, they could see my pajamas, right? So don't do that. When you are wearing, you have to wear the complete thing. So I'm wearing a jeans. So even if I stand up right now because of something or the other, usually that doesn't happen, but sometimes due to emergencies it can happen. You should always wear the full dress, not just on the upper side, and then below you're wearing a short or pajamas. That don't do that. So that's a business casual, and I took the interview in the same business casual.
Devanshu, Srini here. Could you please explain about Activate methodology, SAP Activate methodology? What is that significance and all?
Okay, that's a great question. Has that been asked in an interview to you?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if all of you are aware, but there is something called SAP Activate. Previously, it wasn't the case, but now SAP Activate process or the methodology has been introduced by SAP. There's an open SAP course also on SAP Activate. If you want to go into greater details on SAP Activate, then you can take that open SAP course. By the way, open SAP is getting closed now. It is becoming obsolete. So if you have any badges or certification of completion, certification of appreciation, etc. on OpenSAP, it is all getting migrated to learnings.sap.com. So I would recommend you to download all your badges and certification of completion from OpenSAP, which I recently did, because soon it's going to be decommissioned. Anyways, coming back to the topic. So what is SAP Activate? What happens is, during an implementation project, previously you could not show the customer how the things would look like when it will be implemented. Okay. If a customer asks you, sometimes the customer has no idea what SAP report or SAP screen or SAP implemented system will look like, because they are using SAP for the very first time. In those cases, it's a great way to get the customer buy-in if you can show them that when your system will be implemented, this is what the screen will look like. This is the T code you will go to, VA01. This is how you will enter the sales document. This is how you will enter the quantity, values. There was no way before the Activate that you could show that to the customer. What you had to do was, you would say, okay, give us 3 months of time, 4 months of time. We are going to implement a small POC, proof of concept, in your test system, and then we can show you. Not before that. Okay. But for that, the customer had to sign a contract, sign a POC contract, and spend some money. So this was a big pain point for customers. So customer went back to SAP and said that at least give us some demo system or something to see that if I'm going to implement simple finance, if I'm going to implement the core finance core in S4HANA, how will it look like at the end of the day? So SAP said, okay, because this is not just one customer's problem, this is a pain point across the globe. I am going to give you a methodology called SAP Activate. What that does is it will give you access to a demo system where you can choose your scope item that, okay, I want to activate simple finance, I want to activate the logistics, simple logistics, and I just want to see after my system is implemented, what the standard content, I'm not talking about customizations from customer, that's a part 2, but the standard content, the standard core which is provided by SAP, how will it look like? What are the screens? What is the workflow? What are the reports? What is Fiori? What are the standard Fiori tiles? How will you see the trial balance? How will you see the GL accounts? How will you maintain your FSVs? The standard screens and standard system, how will it look like? System SAP has given you. They can immediately activate that within weeks. Now, what used to take 3 to 4 months of POC, now within 1 week or 1.5 weeks, you can activate that scope item quickly and see, okay, this is what it looks like. I'm good with it or I'm not good with it. So customer can decide very easily to go for that or not go for that. And that SAP Activate has enabled for customers. Okay. Anything you want to add, Srini, or whoever asked the question? Srini, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there are a couple of subdivisions also there, like preparation phase and something is there, right? So they ask the question, so what are the phases are there in the Activate methodology and how you can define those there? It is a lengthy question, but yeah.
Yeah. So now you're going into the actual phases of SAP Activate, which are nothing but your prepare, realize, and then test. So
Discover.
Yes, you can explain in detail, but in a nutshell, you should just say that you prepare where you prepare your scope. You show it. Is this what you want to activate? Then customer goes in the scope item and sees, yes, this is what I want to activate. Then you realize that means you activate it, and then you do a basic unit testing and show it to the customer, basically. But you should understand the basic purpose behind SAP Activate. Why SAP gave this option, and that's what I told you, to basically enable the customer to see before an implementation, before a POC, how will the system look like when it will be implemented. And again, there's an open SAP course. If you want to go into detail, you can do
that. Thanks, Devanshu, for your patience.
No problem. Any other questions, guys? Let me see if there is anything in the chat. No more open SAP. Yes, I told you that SAP is now moving into learnings. Yeah, there you go. The link is given. Thank you, Srini, for that. Your email ID. Okay. Somebody just pinged. Yeah. So it's devanshu.mukherjee@gmail.com. So please send me an email if you want to know the announcement of the exact date for my upcoming trainings.
Hello, Dev.
Yes. Who's this?
This is Ansari. Just a quick question.
Yes.
For your, you mentioned about your recent interview for the product cost position.
Yes.
How much important was it for you? Like, they asked any technical questions or the functional questions based on the S4 side? Like, I know you have to get the master material, for example, cost estimates. What about IVP for sales quantity? Did they ask you anything about that?
No. So for product cost planning, this is basically a frozen food industry customer. So it's a process manufacturing. It's not just your discrete manufacturing. It's a process manufacturing, right? So within manufacturing, you have different types: discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing. This is a frozen food industry. So they had process manufacturing. So they did ask me about recipe. So recipe is nothing but a combination of BOM and BOM and routing, which is nothing called recipe. Yes, they did ask me about what is a recipe. Do you know how a recipe is prepared? Do you know quantity structure? What is it? Or what do you know about product cost planning? So I told them whatever I read from that, research from the data action from SAP. I told them that yes, I know that cost estimate is loaded from S4 HANA, and then from that cost estimate we derive the recipe, quantity structure, BOM is derived, and routing is derived, and then we have what do you call overhead costs. So we have the direct cost, and then we have the overhead costs as well. So all that is basically derived from the cost estimate, and then we plan for my routing. What is the plan for the BOM related raw material cost? What is the plan? And for overhead costs like salaries, rent, etc.
Activity cost rates. Yeah.
Exactly. Activity cost rates are there. Resource cost rate is there. Activity cost rate is there. So we plan on that, and then we load the actuals, and then we do the variance analysis. So that's all I told them. They didn't ask me about IBP because they were not using IBP. They were using SAC, they were using PAPM. For allocations, they were using PAPM. So they asked me, have I worked on PAPM? So fortunately, I did my Open SAP course from PAPM, and also I did a little bit of hands-on in the POC environment. So I said, yes, I have PAPM experience where I did create the model for the allocation of the costs, the direct costs and overhead costs, both allocations to different cost centers and cost elements. And we then extracted the data in SAC planning model, and then we did the plan there. So that's what they asked me. IBP, no, they didn't ask IBP.
PAPM is it like for product costing, is it very common to have, like a lot of clients have that, or?
No, it's not very, very common because first of all, PAPM is used only for huge volume and very complex allocation process. So if your volume is not in billions, and if you don't have very complex allocation rules, then you don't need PAPM, to be honest. Just SAC and your S4 HANA is good enough. Your allocations can even happen in S4 HANA, that's also fine, but SAC can also do the allocations very easily with the drivers. So you have to just define the drivers for the allocation. But the moment it goes to billions of records, because here we are talking about recipe. Recipe means your BOM plus quantity. BOM means, and BOM explosion, when BOM explosion happens, the record count blows up multiple times. So if you have that BOM explosion and it is resulting in billions of records, and you have to allocate within those granularity, then PAPM is then SSC will not suffice, then PAPM you have to go. But it's not, I would not say it's common. It's common between large enterprises, but small and medium, they don't use PAPM.
And the way the integration happens is like you bring in some fields, or is it like a third-party tool with the PAPM, for example, or like cost estimate is coming from S4, what comes in from PAPM?
So cost estimate gets loaded from S4. What comes from PAPM is integrated with SAC. So our model gets data written back from PAPM model. Okay. So your allocations happen here, and that allocations data after the allocation gets written back to the SAC planning model.
In AC.P.
That is no. AC.P is in S4 HANA. That is when you are writing data back. I'm talking about PAPM sending data to SAC planning model.
Okay.
And then once you do the planning there, then you can write the data back into S4. So if you're using AC.P, then you are doing planning within S4, right?
Right.
But here what my scenario was, the customer scenario was, they are loading the actual cost estimate, whatever cost estimate is there from S4 HANA, doing the planning in the SAC and writing it back into S4 HANA. That's when it gets populated in AC.P, and then it used to go into variance analysis, and then people used to act based on that plan data.
Yeah, so did they go for more questions for variance analysis, cost components, for example, or all those like material ledger stuff, anything?
No, they didn't go into that. No, they didn't go into that. They went into the technical side of SAC, product cost planning. So they
Thank
asked
you
me,
so
what
much.
are the measures you used for product cost planning? Have you used component material versus your main material? So what have you worked on component quantity versus main quantity? Is it a different dimension in SAC? How do you do that? So thankfully, because the standard content from SAP, I went through the model. In that model, we had the component material as quantity as a separate measure, and then the main quantity as a separate measure. So I told them that yes, these are two different dimensions, and then we store data, and then we can aggregate data in stories. But at the model level, we store data as a component material and main material both at that level.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's exactly what I was looking for.
So,
Question on allocation.
yes.
So already in S4 we are having already allocations are performing. So can we use that without recreating in SAC, or we should do?
Sorry, allocation. Where are you already doing allocation?
In S4 we are allocating.
In S4. Okay. Yeah.
And same thing can we use directly into SAC, or we should recreate them? in SAC?
If you are using allocation already in S4, then you don't need to recreate that in SAC. Allocated data, the expense allocation, whatever has happened to different cost centers and cost elements, you can load them directly into SAC. You don't need to redo it again in SAC. You don't have to.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You can reuse them. Reuse them in the sense whatever allocation data is already created in S4, just load that in SAC.
Okay. So that means.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. My question is, we should maintain any changes in future happen in both SAC and S4?
If you are doing allocation at both levels, then yes, you have to maintain. But I would recommend do allocation either at SAC or in S4. Don't do it on both the places. Then the maintenance will be a nightmare for you, right? And so mostly what clients I have worked with, they have done allocations in SAC or PAPM, not in S4. And then they write the data back into S4, which is already allocated data to all those cost centers, and then the cost centers, they get the data, and then accordingly they start the production.
Okay, because we are not having PAPM, that's why. Okay, got it.
Okay, then do it in SAC or S4, not both. Both I would not recommend because of the maintenance problems.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, I want to quickly show you the standard content from SAP, which you can use. So let me share my trial server screen. Let me know if you're able to see my trial server screen.
Yeah.
Are you able to see it? Okay. So this is my trial. It ends in 32 days, by the way. So here, what you can do is, the way I prepared for that interview, I went into the content network. In the content network, you will see 3 tiles: samples, business content, third-party business content. So go for business content. And here you will find all the standard content from SAP for SAC. So here, if you just type product cost, was it product cost? Oh, no, sorry. You have to type integrated. Yes. So just type integrated. In the integrated, there will be something called integrated financial planning for SAP S/4HANA. Can you see this, guys? I just want to make sure everybody can see this.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have IBP content as well. If you are interested in IBP, then you can look at this. But for me, for my product cost planning, I went and I basically imported this one. So when you click on this one, you will see that it has all the different components, including product cost planning. So if you click on that, you will see that it has all the components. And if you go to import options, you will be able to see all the different components. And here, if you come down, so we have CapEx. Capital expenditure means CapEx planning. So it will show you the standard content for capex planning. Then it will show you standard content for financial statement planning, cost center planning, and you have product cost planning as well. This is what basically SAP, FI, IFP, IM product cost. So all the components which are starting with SAP, FI, IFP, IM product cost is related to product cost planning. And once you import this, you will be able to see it here. If you go to files, public, there will be a folder which will be created called SAP_content. Click on that and you will see all the imported models from SAP standard content. And here, where I have to do integrated, right? So this is your integrated IFP. Inside this, you will see we have models, and in models, we have capex model, financial statement model, OPEX model, operating expense, and then you have product cost. This is where I went and I studied the product cost planning model, what they have provided. And that's when I got to know that, okay, so we have our quantity, component quantity, the material component quantity separately. Then we have quantity for the main product material separately. We have component price. We have sales quantity because we need the sales quantities for the planning. Lot amount. What is a lot amount? Lot amount means a product can be sold in a 10-gram package, and you have a bigger package also, like 200 grams package. So those are lot amounts. Overhead cost lot amount. CO2e. Yes, this concept I did not know. But when I went into the model and when I checked that, I got to know that what is CO2e? CO2e is basically for greenhouse gas emission. Okay. So a lot of companies who are manufacturing companies, now the government has mandated that you keep an eye on your greenhouse gas emission quantities, how much you are emitting that. And government will levy tax on you if you overdo or overgo a certain threshold. So if you cross that threshold of greenhouse gas emission, then you will be taxed. So that's why the manufacturing companies are now creating certain dimensions and analyzing that how much CO2 emission, E stands for emission. So how much CO2 emission, which is nothing but a greenhouse gas emission, CO2 is greenhouse gas. So how much of that I'm actually per lot, how much I'm emitting. To just keep a check that, they are within the government provided threshold and they are within the limits, basically. So go through that model. In fact, data is also given by SAP. So you can go through the data of that. And then you can go through the data actions, which gave me the details of BOM, quantity structure. So if you go back here in the folder hierarchy, and I'm going back on IFP, integrated financial planning, data actions. So data actions are also there for capex planning, for financial statement planning. And if you want to just restrict it and just search with product cost. So those data actions will be limited to product cost, and then you will be able to see that what is the cost center resource, activity rates, material resource, product cost center. So go through these data actions and it will show you that what exactly is happening. Overhead cost, for example, if I want to see this, I can go inside this and I'm going to study that what exactly is happening within these data action steps. So you have to study this code. So what is it doing? Calculating manufacturing overhead cost. What is an overhead cost? Which are indirect costs, like your rents to your employees who are directly involved in manufacturing the product. Then your AC, your different utilities, and your other things which are not directly connected to your product manufacturing, which are called overhead costs. So how is SAP calculating it, right? So what is it doing? This is not a very complex code. It's just doing the amount of credit debit code equals to C is equal to my lot amount multiplied by my sales quantity, etc., and divided by lot size, etc. So if you go through this, you will understand that how exactly is the overhead cost calculated in the standard content, and this will give you the necessary knowledge to showcase that in the interview. So yes, of course, you have to spend time, you have to do a little bit of hard work, go through the standard content. It's free of cost, there is no cost for it. download it, and then go through that. That's what I did for a successful interview preparation. Okay.
Real quick, Dev, like for product costing, you think cost center planning is a mandatory process step or no?
For product cost center planning, I don't think that's a mandatory step. You have to create those cost centers. You have to create those activities. You have to create the BOM, etc. You have to make sure that those prerequisites are there in the system. Otherwise, you cannot do your cost estimate. But cost center planning is a separate area than product cost planning. I don't think it's a prerequisite, but they are heavily connected to each other for sure. But I don't think that's a prerequisite.
Okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I wasn't sure, that's why I was asking, but yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the study I did for the product cost planning model data action, they are not doing any cost center planning or any data action related to that as a prerequisite step. But yes, your activity rates, your activity types, your cost centers, your cost elements, your BOM structure, your routing, everything should be in system created, and that comes under production planning. So production planning will create all these things, and then you can do the product cost planning.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
Hello, sir. This is Rama. And
Yes, Rama. Go ahead.
How to extract the SAP structure of SAP success factor to BW?
SAP success factor to BW. You mean to say from your success factor cloud system to your BW?
No, S4 system to BW.
S4 system to BW? But success factor data is there on the success factor cloud product, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So your question is how to extract data from S4 HANA to BW for the success factor data, or how to directly connect success factor cloud product to your BW and extract
the structure. I want the structure.
Okay, so there are two ways to do that. One is via the OData connector. So BW has a standard content for success factor, and that standard content will need for an OData connection to your success factor product, which is a cloud product. And there is an SAP node for that as well. So if you just type this, so let me show you this. So if you just say SAP success factor to BW extraction, there will be a node which will come up, and that node will basically tell you how to do step by step. I have to find that node, but basically the way to do it is through the activating the standard content in BW, and secondly working with the success factor administrator to have that OData endpoint API URL. Use that endpoint API URL of OData to create a connectivity in BW side, and the data source is based on OData, and then you extract your payroll data, your organizational structure data, and your employee related data. So you can do that. Here in this blog, I don't know if they have mentioned that SAP node, but there is an SAP node. Instead of going through multiple blogs, I would recommend you to go through that SAP node. I don't have it handy. Let me open support. Hold on. Sorry, which is me.sap. So SAP support. So here, if you just type, there is another way. You can go directly to SAP support portal. By the way, SAP support portal has now migrated to SAP for me. So always go for SAP for me because that is now deprecated. So me.sap.com, and then you have your login. You have to log in with your S user ID, right? So if once you log in with your S user ID, then you will just type SAP success factor extraction to BW, and then that note will come up. Okay. I will give you that note right now. I don't have it handy. Or maybe I can search. Just give me 1 second. Maybe I have that downloaded somewhere. But that's how you will do it. So basically, OData connection from SuccessFactors to BW.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm searching for that. Go ahead if anyone else has any questions. I'm looking for that note. Any other question, guys? No? No questions?
And this OData service API by administration, by the administrators, no?
Yes, they have to configure that and give you the URL of that endpoint, OData endpoint from SuccessFactors.
Okay.
SAP SuccessFactors to BW. So you have to work with them. It's not that you can do this alone. You have to work with the SuccessFactors administrator or SuccessFactors consultant, and then extract it. Also SuccessFactors employee central. Yeah, you have to search for that. How to India? There you go. I think this is the one. And this blog probably will give you that SAP node also. No, this is not a blog. Yeah, I'll send you that note number. Just send me an email asking for that SuccessFactors integration. I'll send you that note.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else? No more questions?
I think.
Okay. So if you don't have any more questions, I think let's stop here. So thank you so much for attending the session. And if you want to be part of the list where I will announce my next course, please send me an email to devanshu.mukherjee@gmail.com. It's there in the chat. I'm pinging you once more for everyone who has newly joined. Send me an email and I'm going to keep you updated with my latest course announcement.
Devanshu, is this SSC planning will be in Udemy also? Will this be like last time, like BW for HANA?
Eventually, yes. Eventually, it will be in Udemy as well. Initially, it will not be in Udemy. Initially, it will be directly as a YouTube private playlist, just like how I have a YouTube private playlist for BW for HANA training. Similarly, it will have a private playlist in YouTube, and that can be directly purchased from me. But eventually, maybe another after 3-4 months, 5 months, I will put it on Udemy. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, I wanted to know whether have you ever taken a native SAP HANA course?
It's included in my BW for HANA course. So in BW for HANA training, the first 7 or 8 sessions, I have purely focused on native HANA, where I have shown end-to-end customer scenario, virtual tables, SDA connectivity, calculation views, database procedures, table functions, everything. And then I moved on to BW. So it's covered as part of my BW for HANA training. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. And this recording will be available on YouTube. I'm going to send the announcement of the recording link on LinkedIn, and I'll also send you an email. So please don't forget to send me an email if you want to be in the know. Thank you, everyone, and you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
very much.
Devanshu.
Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much, Dev.
Thank you,
Thanks
Devanshu.
a lot.
Thank you.